Hello guys. So I'm going to be doing my Q&A video. And I've said this before, you guys ask very interesting questions, and I appreciate these questions, like the very smart, thought-provoking questions. Yeah. Okay, so the first question is, what's the energetic quality of mountains? I'm drawn to Mont Blanc. So some mountains are like volcanoes, right? So they're these big rock formations. Some mountains are apparently chopped down trees. So when I think of, which I guess are also rocks, because wood can become petrified into rock, right? I think. Um, but when I think of mountains, I think of those elements. So I think of rock and wood. There's usually a lot of trees on mountains. There are some mountains like Mount Shasta that is known to be an energy vortex. So that's known to be the root chakra of the world. And to me, in general, mountains, they have this masculine energy to them. So when I think about stone, for example, that is a more masculine element to me. And if you look at people who are connected to stone or rock elementals, they have that more of a masculine vibe. Um, Also, when I think about wood, so some mountains are just big trees. Some mountains are just big trees that have been chopped down and petrified. Wood to me is also a more masculine element. It's more fast moving and more of that kind of yang energy. So to me, mountains have a masculine energy to them. It could be that you also have that masculine kind of energy in you that you are channeling down here. Also, if you look at my color ray videos, so usually rock is associated with a more masculine color ray, which is red. And then wood actually is connected to another masculine ray, which I'm going to talk about in a future video. What is your opinion on the Telepathy Tapes podcast? Is this a good thing or is there corruption? So I haven't really seen a lot of the Telepathy Tapes, but I have seen that it is about this group of autistic kids who meet each other on a hill in the astral, and they have telepathy with each other, and they have these advanced psychic abilities. I see a lot of the movements here on Earth connected to different star race groups. So, if you can believe it, there are certain star race groups behind every industry, every big trend like this. The star race group that I see being behind this, specifically the telepathy tapes, is the Black Grays. And the Black Grays are interesting to me because they often are in these more spiritual leader type positions. And believe it or not, I see Black Grays as being more awake and conscious than other grays. So, believe it or not, I know that I have said, and other people will say too, that all grays are like this, all reps are like this, all insectoids are like this. But there are like degrees within those star races, believe it or not. So, and I find with the black grays, they're on the more awake side. However, I do find that they're more focused on the mind as opposed to seeing the human as this holistic thing. So seeing the human as a whole soul, I guess. So it does make perfect sense that the black grays would do something like this. It's all about connecting the minds and having those, so I guess they call them psionic abilities. That is all very much that, like what they would focus on. I find that they like seeing the mind and spirituality as a structure, or they'll see the universe as a structure, and they'll be really into bringing quantum physics into spirituality. So, with all that being said, I do have a bit of a weird feeling with the telepathy tapes because to me, it could be the perfect introduction to selling telepathic technologies. So, the fact that they're only focusing on autistic kids, it kind of feels like they're using these autistic kids to make money. I don't know. So to me, there's something a bit off about it, and I feel like there's just something missing. So they're giving interesting information, but also really focusing on the autistic kids. That to me is a pathway to only people with with that autism who have that can do this. If you're a little bit neurodivergent, you might need this technology to get you to the full abilities. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, I didn't like psychically channel them. I'm just like, that's just what I see when I observe it. Also, there are some kind of weird symbols that they use in their marketing. Do angels have emotions just like us? So, yes, they do have emotions just like us. The difference is that they're in love all the time. So, they're in unconditional love all the time. So, when they get mad, it's because they feel so much love. When they get sad, it's because they're so in love with humanity or with someone. When we cry, it's because we don't feel love. So you could say that all emotions are because of love, either because you feel it so much or you don't have it. And for us, when we cry and feel anger, it can actually harm the health of our body. But when they get mad and cry, it can't harm their body because they're connected to this endless stream of energy. They never run out of energy. They never need to recharge. Are all seraphim angels black or can they be white too? So, yeah, someone sent me this over a message and I wasn't sure because when I look at the term seraphim, it usually means a fiery angel. And I do find that the fire angels just so happen to be black. Like they wear black cloaks and things like that. So maybe the element is more important. I also see that there are angels of different colors. So there is black and white, but then there's also angels that have gold, silver, blue, red. It is interesting how elements are so key to this existence. Like we have elements around us here, and in the higher planes, there are elements. I know it's a bit weird, but it does make sense, doesn't it? So, fire, water, air, all of that. And seeing how the seraphim angels are connected to fire and they're closest to, they're known to be the guardians of the throne of Christ. So that might have something to do with it, where maybe it starts with fire angels, then the next level of guardians are earth, because you have stone there. And then the next level is water, and then the next level is air or something. Let me know your thoughts. If you have angel higher forms in another realm, how is it expressed in this realm? So there are different races of angels, just like how there are different races of elementals. So you have with the elementals, they're all connected to an element. This is the same case with the angels. I find though that they're usually either on the yin side. So I call that white angel, and most of the time they are in white. Um, there's a whole, like they have their own level, their own realm where the white angels are, um, and then there's a whole other realm where there are the black angels. So they very much represent this concept of yin and yang, but there's no fighting between them, but they just have those differences. So depending on which one you are more connected to, that really has an effect on what you do and how you operate on Earth. So I did do a short video showing this, and I'll put it here and then I'll put the link below as well, where I show how white angels express in the world versus the black. So I find the black angels or the yang angels, they are more likely to be more occupied with the material world. They're more about logic. They might be just more busy in their life. Like they like doing things, they like taking action. White angels, on the other hand, I find we just like to kind of stay where we are. We like to depend more on our intuition and our inner world to develop ourselves, you know? Whereas a black angel might do things like they might do more physical things, more physical movements to get themselves connected spiritually or to develop themselves spiritually. I find black angels are also more likely to use tarot cards and different tools. Like they're just so good at that. They're like gifted at that. You can think of black angels as being the on the offense, and then the maybe the white angels on the defense, because they use just themselves. They like living in more empty spaces as well. So the white angels, they like living kind of minimalist. You can kind of see there's like nothing on my walls. Um, Whereas a black angel, they like collecting things. They like just exploring the world more. And I will show some examples of this. So I showed some examples in that short video, but you can also see this being expressed in spiritual teachers. So I'm going to show a video of a spiritual teacher, one of my favorites, who is connected to white angels. And you can see how his method really differs from the black angel that I'll show.
During the separation periods, I feel like I take 2 steps forward. I can stand in my frame, I make progress. Really good things happen.
Yeah.
And then he comes back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how things will happen a lot of times if there's a relationship that you're in or a dynamic with a friend, etc. And when you want something from them or there's a certain expectation there, remember, it's like we repel with the expectation or the energy being projected at him or at the person. But then you get in your own frame of reality. You get into what you're passionate about. You start filling up your own cup. And then as a response to that, people energetically feel that and either come back to you or tune into you. Mm-hmm. And what I notice is a lot of times when I'm in certain states of energy, there are certain people that I run into when I'm in high states of energy, and there's some people I run into only when I'm in low states of energy.
Most people, their personality, their identity, isn't something that they chose. It's something that's subservient to the system that created it by definition. Meaning, if you want to recreate who you are, because if I could attribute my writing and creator success to one thing, it would obviously be walking. I mean, we can even just have Devin, if you can just put up an image of like your brain when it's just sitting around and your brain when it's walking, to form this new walking habit and to get addicted to it, I believe it's wise to pull the patterns and principles from video games so that we can implement it in our habit formation so that you can form the habit.
So they have this different way of going about the world, but their end goal is the same. They want to bring peace and harmony onto Earth. And they both have that ability and they're both moving towards that goal. I will also say that there are gray angels that I sometimes see, more specifically the angel races. So like a gray swan or something like that. They will usually be, so if you're connected to the gray swans, you'll usually be more of an overseer. So you'll do a little bit of both. Yeah. Even within these races that I'm talking about, there's all these little variations. I know that I talk about it in these very broad terms, but yeah, if you can imagine, for example, for every elemental race that I talk about, so if I talk about a siren, for example, there's probably 100 different types of sirens. So how many types of higher forms can people usually have? I ask because I saw what you said about Madison Beer's higher forms. So I do find that the older the soul and the more spiritual power you have, the more higher forms you have. And that could just be the result of you doing more things and collecting more experiences. You have more, you've been through more. So you've just been around longer than others. So the more experiences that you have, the more wise you are as a soul. Like you could say you're older, but there's no time really. But yeah, I was wondering if I could make a suggestion. I was wondering if you could look at people in the K-pop industry or just BTS, because I recall you said you liked their music. I noticed that the K-pop industry seems darker or maybe just as dark as Hollywood, but I'm not sure. Anyway, your Substack is so fun to read. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. So I will link to another video where I did talk about the K-pop industry. So yes, in my opinion, the K-pop industry, there is weird stuff going on. You can see, and I said this in the other video, that they cover their eye, and that's them basically showing their allegiance to the techno god. So, for example, in movies like Star Wars, you have this dark force of beings who are more like robotic, and then you have the light force. So to me, this really is happening. So, for example, Darth Vader is kind of like a computer person. He's kind of like a robot slash human. So these are what you could call the fallen gods from a previous age, like from the age of Atlantis. So they're still here. They've never left. Like we think that it is such like this far off thing, but what they did then is why we're experiencing what we're experiencing now. This is why we have all this technology. This is why we have our phones and all of that. I will just say that some of these beings, some of these fallen gods, they don't really even have faces. They might have a computer screen as a face. Like just look at Star Wars and it'll kind of give you some hints just to kind of show you how not like spiritually connected they are. They just don't have the same way of thinking as a human does because they are like part computer. So how could they? They can't. They can't think the same way. So the way they act is kind of like it is psychopathic. And now you know why certain things happen the way they do in our world. Things that just don't make sense, where you think, how could someone do that? So because they're this way, they kind of want to make us their children in a way. They want us to worship them, do what they're doing. That's why they give us these technologies. And so these fallen gods, they can't procreate, they can't create art, they can't feel, taste, all of that. So they really live through us. They live through our experiences. That's why they're collecting our data. That's why they're really, really focused on us, um, on many levels of existence. So bring time travel into that picture, and now I know it's a bit confusing, but just that might explain some things as well. This is also why they introduced the idea of gender neutral into our society, because what's gender neutral? A cyborg person who can't procreate. So sorry, going back to K-pop and BTS, I do feel that they are kind of part of this agenda. So they might be normalizing this idea of being more robotic. So if you look at their dances, they're all dancing at the exact same. They dance the exact same, kind of almost look like robots dancing. Um, they do have this gender neutral look where you're not sure, oh, is it a girl or a guy? And honestly, I don't think gender neutral is necessarily a bad thing. I even feel like I'm gender neutral in like spirit, you know what I'm saying? Like I have a gender neutral quality to my energy, and I find a lot of people do. I find a lot of the old souls will have that gender neutral quality. Here, they use it in a very backwards way. They use it more as a way to kind of degrade the human and de-evolve the human. So it's not really helpful. I also find that movie, K-pop Demon Hunters, to have that kind of robotic look to it. So the animation, it looks very robotic. It's very different from the animation of the past that looked more natural. So I think that that can really get into the heads of kids. They don't really know what they're looking at, but they see that robotic quality and they just get used to it. I have some questions about elementals. Do they exist in their own realm, like in the occult book you shared, or are they here on Earth? I heard people sell mermaid tails on the dark web. They do exist in their own realm, but you are in that realm too. So it's all one realm. So I see mermaids as existing in many different realms. And if you look at us, for example, like we have kind of these aquatic noses that kind of are like that. When you look at a monkey, they have like a flat, very flat nose. So do with that what you will. Maybe we're all kind of part mermaid, but more of like that lower level. I do think there are more aquatic humans in this realm. We just we're very closed off to what's going on outside. There's more elemental looking humans out there, more elf looking humans. And I also see mermaids existing in a more etheric level. So it's just interesting how everything kind of has an element behind it, like even us. So we're a little bit of that water, aquatic mammal, I guess. And then we also have the monkey combined. So, for example, like you have the avians, right? That's bird person. And we are monkey slash aquatic people. So that's just our race. That's just our star race. Yeah. So I do think that there are these lower level mer people that you could say that are here. And then there's also more etheric mer people who are more, they're kind of like water spirits. So I will say, like, if someone is showing a mermaid tail, maybe it's true. Does everyone have a twin flame? I think that like when I really tune into it, I think no, not everyone has a twin flame in the highest way. So I think the original souls, like the 144,000, I think they have twin flames where they're born from the same flame. I also don't think everyone has their twin flame incarnated with them at the same time. So I think it is probably quite rare to unite with your twin flame. I also find that there are some people who are part of an oversoul who can feel like they have like 20 twin flames. But it's because you're all part of the same family and you're all like pretty much the same. You're all the same frequency. So that's what I feel like I'm in because I've come across so many people who really felt like a twin flame. So it's a bit tricky. I also think that there are, for example, like the more NPC people, the NPC souls, they technically couldn't really have a twin flame because they might have another NPC who is like a representation of a twin flame, but I don't think that they could have a twin flame. So if you're asking, do all the people on Earth have a twin flame? No, not all the people on Earth are incarnated with their twin flame, and I don't think all people on Earth have a twin flame, like period, because they're maybe NPC or they're, I don't know, they just don't, not in this universe. And check out this video where I go into the different types of twin flames that I've come across. Because I do think that there are different types of twin like soul connections, including the oversoul soul connections. Do you think this realm will ever not be a time prison? So I do believe that we are not supposed to be kind of locked in the way we are. We should be able to affect things. We should be able to shape shift. We should be able to affect the weather. We should be able to communicate with animals, do these magical things, but we can't. And I know there are people who can, but I'm just saying that the average person can't. And I do really feel like it starts with the mind. It starts with like there are these blockages in our body as well as in our environment. So when you put that together, when you put together our environment being covered with like a frequency fence, basically, that's like causing us to be blocked from like feeling what's out there. When you combine that with our DNA being downgraded, it's like we can't feel anything. And it is sad. People don't really realize it, but things like we should be feeling love all the time. We should be in love all the time. But we're not. We feel kind of like blank. Like we don't really feel a lot. We do a bit, and we do feel love in these little interactions depending on the person. Like I've met certain people where I will come up all like, and if I hug them, I'm like, whoa, I remember you. We're like, I know we're together somewhere else, and I feel the love coming from you, and like our hearts feel like they're in sync. That it happens sometimes, like it happens every now and then. But I would say regularly, no. We're just kind of talking at each other. We're just talking, trying to like figure things out with our minds. Yeah. And I do think that the more people who reincarnate back, the more that this is just going to keep going on. So I think that us being here right now, especially the Blu-ray people, us coming down as a group, and we're all thinking the same way. We're all revealing truths. We can all see through things. We're waking up the people who we need to wake up. We don't need to wake up everyone. So I think by changing by affecting other people's minds, you can be free of the time matrix. You know what I'm saying? I think Prince had a video where he said that the war is for your mind. And he said, don't look at the stuff on TV and computers. I'll put the clip here, actually.
So, one thing I wanted to say is, don't be fooled by the internet. It's cool. It's cool to get on the computer, but don't let the computer get on you. It's cool. It's cool to use the computer. Don't let the computer use you. You all saw The Matrix. There is a war going on. The battlefield's in the mind. And the prize is the soul. So, just be careful. Be very careful. Thank you.
So, yeah, I think it has to do with that and not reincarnating back.